Hey there, welcome back to the channel. After I did my last video about why I use Fujifilm equipment, I did hear from some folks and some folks who were interested, and they asked the question, it's like, do you have any recommendations? Yes, I do.
Battalion 2, engines, 11, 27, 7, and 22. Investigator 1, ladder 27, and safety 1, house fire. CO1 Maple Street, Army, Echo, Battalion 2, engines, 11, 27.
Okay, so some folks reached out and wanted to know, hey, I'm interested in the Fujifilm system, but I'm not sure if it's really for me. Do you have any recommendations? And again, one of the great things about crop sensor cameras is it's fairly inexpensive compared to full sensor, so that's a real advantage. But if you think it's something you might want to try and you're sort of intrigued by the Fujifilm styling and dials, but you're not sure how into it you want to get, Fujifilm XT1. XT1, great camera. Like I said, older technology, admittedly a little slow, has some autofocus issues, but for the type of photography that I'm doing, where I'm photographing fire trucks or fire scenes, that's not necessarily a problem. If I was at a professional football game trying to photograph players running into the end zone, that might be a little different. But for my needs, this has worked really well. Like I said, good basic camera, 16 megapixel sensor, just a lot to like about it, but again, has the old style dials and controls, and that's really great. So the Fujifilm XT1 was actually introduced by Fuji back in 2014. So again, admittedly, it's getting a little old. But the camera has a 16 megapixel sensor. It is the first Fujifilm camera that had weather sealing, so that's kind of nice. And it uses, again, their APS-C X-Trans CMOS sensor, which I think delivers some really great looking images and really good colors. When it was first introduced, Fuji had it priced around $1,300. The camera was well received when it came out and began a fairly successful camera line for Fujifilm, the XT series. Today we're up to the XT5. However, there are lots of older XT1s out there, and they've become much more reasonably priced and make a great way to get into the Fujifilm XT system. There's a lot of places you can buy used gear. There's several great online sites, KEH, MPV, a lot of the stores, Adorama, even Amazon you can buy used gear. I'd recommend sticking close to, like I said, one of the major used gear resellers, because they typically have guarantees, like a 6-month guarantee, so you can return it if there's an issue with it. I've bought a bunch of stuff used and from those folks and never really had a problem. Like I said, going online, I can find the XT1 body for $400, and that's a pretty good deal. If you think you want to get something a little newer, look at the XT2. Again, the current XT camera line out there is the XT5. So the XT2 is a few years newer. The sensor's larger. This has a 16 megapixel sensor. The XT2 has a 24. So you're getting a really good sensor in there. And you can find a used XT4 body online, $500, between $500 and $600. So still a really good price for a really quality camera that I think you might like. But that's just for the camera body, right? And yes, it is. Suppose you want to get a lens too. You want to be one of those people? Well, okay. Couple of recommendations I would make if you just want to try out the Fujifilm system. Fuji has 2 lenses that they typically package up as kit lenses with a lot of their cameras, and they're still packaging up now. I'm not sure you're going to find a use XT1 or a use XT2 with the kit lens. If you do, great. But what you can find is a lot of those kit lenses available online. And again, at a fairly inexpensive price. A lot of people buy them, and then as they get into it, they want more specialized lenses or they want prime lenses, and that's down the road. So the good, flexible, versatile kit lenses are out there, and you can go, and there's two that Fujifilm typically packages up, and I'd recommend. There is the 18 to 50 millimeter lens. That's a smaller lens. And then there's also the 16 to 80, and that's what's on my XT5 right now. Both of them are good general purpose, all-purpose lenses. Zoom to give you a little bit of flexibility, but you're still getting really good image quality. Maybe not as sharp as a prime, and like I said, doesn't get quite as wide open. This is, I think, a constant f4. Is as open as it's going to get, but that's still pretty good. And because they're kit lenses, same thing, you can find them fairly cheap. You can find both of these, the 16 to 80 or the 18 to 55. I think I said 50. It's a 18 to 55 lens. You can find those for $400 in excellent condition, in the box kind of thing, from some of the online dealers. And like I said, there's a lot of them out there. So essentially, for less than $1,000, you can buy an XT body, one or two, and a really good, versatile zoom lens, and get going in the Fujifilm ecosystem, if you will. I've been really happy, and if you think it's something you might want to try, there you go. The other thing is, with the online market being what it is, if you get it and you decide, 2 months from now, this is not for you, sell them and move on to the next system, if you will. All right. So first, I know I said I wasn't going to shoot any videos on my desk because it's too messy, but I cleaned it up a little, so you're just going to have to get used to that. Try and ignore all the other stuff there on my desk. So you're interested in the XT1 or XT2. But you're looking at those dials and you're still a little worried because, all those other cameras have a automatic switch on them. Well, don't worry. Fujifilm has automatic too. To put this or any Fujifilm camera with all the dials into a fully automatic mode, you just have to move each of the individual setting dials to the A position. So you can move the shutter dial to A, and then move the ISO dial to A, and then switch the aperture setting switch into the automatic position. This camera is now working in a fully automatic mode. Just point the camera and push the button. But this camera also has other settings that you're familiar with, things like aperture priority and shutter priority. Suppose you know what shutter speed you want to use. Well, you can just adjust the shutter dial to that speed and leave the other settings in the automatic, and the camera will figure out what is the appropriate aperture and ISO for that particular shutter speed. Or you can set both the shutter speed and the aperture and let the camera figure out the ISO. That's actually a nice way to work when you have a basic idea of your settings, but you may be moving around and the light's changing, and that ISO will compensate so you don't have to keep changing them. However, you're still controlling the basics, the shutter speed, and the aperture. Or if you prefer, you can simply control all three of those settings. Finally, if those dials are still feeling a little overwhelming, let me put a plug in for the Fujifilm XS10. That was the first camera I purchased, and it has the more traditional PASM dial, which might make you feel a little more comfortable. The XS20 recently came out. However, most of those upgrades really are more impacting the video capabilities. So if you're looking for a good camera for photography, the XS10 is also a great option. It has the 26 megapixel sensor. It is not weather sealed, but it has some really good video capabilities. And you can still find them new for about $1,000 for the body, and you can even get them with the kit lenses for about $1,400. In the used market, there's a bunch of them out there, so you could find a used XS10 body for probably $850. Again, a little more expensive because it is newer technology, but it's an excellent camera. And if you're looking for the more traditional styling, that may be a good way to go. So there you go. There's my thoughts on people starting out in Fujifilm. Again, may not be for everyone. I understand everyone has their special wants and likes and desires, but it's been a great camera system for me. And if you're interested in trying it, there's a couple of ideas. So hopefully you found the video interesting. If you did, please like and subscribe. If you have any questions, any thoughts, any comments, I'd love to hear back, why you use the equipment you do. What would you recommend for new photographers just getting going in any particular brand? That's always an interesting place. Plenty of videos out there for folks who want to get a pro level camera, but what about the folks who just want to try it out and don't want to break the bank? So yeah, if you have any ideas, any thoughts on that, please leave those in the comment section also. Otherwise, we'll just see you in the next video. Bye.